in the heart of Minneapolis Northeast Art District, and inside the beautiful California building, Mojo Coffee Gallery tells a story. A story of two artists separated by thousands of miles and a border. This is the story of two friends under the influence. This is the story of Marko Fields of Mojo Coffee Gallery, Minneapolis, and
my name is Diego Valles. I'm a potter from a small community in Chihuahua, Mexico, and I've been doing pottery full-time for the last 12 years.
Diego Valles' art has brought back an old Mexican ceramic tradition. This story of those two artists, like all other stories, it has a beginning.
I met Diego. I was writing on spec. I was writing a piece for Ceramics Monthly, which is a periodical, probably the top clay periodical in the world. It's certainly the largest. There's always emerging people in Monte Ortiz because there's now about 500 potters. So there's always someone emerging, but the ones that were really making a name for themselves. And I had identified a few of them and was talking to Spencer about this, and he said, I want you to meet somebody.
Marko Fields, the artist, went to Mexico to meet Diego.
Some 10, 12 years ago, I met Marko Fields, who's making this madness of ceramics, and we became good friends, and now we have this collaborative show together, called Friends Under the Influence, which includes works not only from Marko and myself, but also from other artists who have influenced our work or our lives.
I think the work will speak for itself. It is, in one way, it's kind of a hierarchy. It's an ascending hierarchy of materials, complexity, and then ultimately resolving itself in some of the repeated imagery, the vocabulary of imagery that both Diego and I shared together.
Well, we do everything by hand in small batches. It's collecting the clay in the mountains and the hills around where we live. And it's hard work, just going to collect it and process it and have it ready for building something. And we use coils to build our pottery. It's not a wheel thrown type of pottery. And then the very complex decoration you see on the pieces is done by hand with tools that we make ourselves. Either it's a human hairbrush or just a needle tool to etch out the design. And it's part of daily life. We learn it when we were kids from our parents or from a relative or a friend.
There's some kind of attraction, as you say, between your work and his work, or the way you create art. But there is, for a casual eyes, your pieces are complicated, and his piece, as he would say, seems like a different approach, a simplicity of it, and sometimes it's very hard to do simple things.
From the get-go, let's say, from the beginning, there has been a mutual respect for the level of our work, respective work. He appreciates the iconography in my work, the imagery in my work. Clearly, my work is, it's complicated. My work is complicated, and there's a lot of attention to detail and a lot of...
It's just fun, and it's a very unique way of learning because you're not expecting to be graded, and you are not afraid of failing because of that, so you're just learning and doing your own thing, and you're never told you're making a line in the wrong direction. You're filling the space outside instead of inside. It's just doing something that is natural to the people, and you don't need somebody to really tell you what to do, because you're looking at them and you're doing your own thing, based on what they do.
Okay, the difference between Mexico and, say, us as Westerners, well, and especially in the United States.
Yeah.
All babies are born with creative impulse. And then the kids grow up, they start off with the scribble stage. And then they go to the graphic stage where the first time they make a circle. And then the mother says, oh, he's making a circle, right? Well, that's a very natural impulse. And in most of the world, that childlike curiosity and artistic naivete and creativity is not stifled. In the United States, we say, don't color outside of the lines, and eventually you need to get a real job.
I believe everybody these days is being taught in a very European way. We look into a very commercial way of doing things. And when it is not done in that specific way, then it's not art. It's called craft at the most. And it's almost like diminishing the true value. And once we realize that, we see how powerful and how important it is what communities like ours do.
In some ways, he's telling more and more of a story as well. He's kind of the chronicle, living chronicle of the development of the sophistication of the development of what we refer to as the miracle of Marko Ortiz. Because it is truly considered a phenomenon in the art world, what's been going on there.
It's very important because it keeps alive a culture, a tradition, and an art form that otherwise would not exist. But we do have a lot of similarities, though. It's quite complex to achieve both pieces, but they look completely different at the end. I have a burnished surface next to an edged one, and then next to a part that has been painted over with a slip and a brush, human hair brush. So I try to always kind of balance and have a different view of the same piece, something going on that is interesting,
So he's kind of taken the mantle or the baton from earlier generations. He's a third generation artist. And he's taken the work in Marko Ortiz to new complexities and levels of content.
Sometimes great art starts with a mistake.
Well, my personal work, with clay, it's always evolving. Every piece is evolving as I'm making it, and a lot of the pieces are experimentations, and they change a lot. Like this piece behind, the heart-shaped piece, that has been evolving since I made it, and
art's never finished.
It's never going to be finished,
With the political climate on the Mexican and the United States border, art takes an active role.
Artists, by nature, are activists.
Yeah.
And I believe that if you're not communicating something positive with your work, or if you're not making people think when they see your work, you're failing as an artist.
Diego Valles, a living proof that walls cannot stop art from crossing the border.
Yeah, it works. It breaks down.
Yes, exactly. That's a lot of